from beautiful Bilgola Beach in Sydney. I just went on a lovely 3-day trip to Magnetic Island off Townsville. It was such a beautiful getaway to be in nature, to see so many wonderful, wildlife encounters like koalas, echidnas, pink galahs, even black-tipped reef sharks. It was a really great time, to be in nature. I cycled around the island for a couple of days. I went swimming, I did a snorkel tour. So I'm just going to sort of talk about the practical tips of what I did, and whether it's the kind of getaway you might like. So first I just got a cheap flight with Jetstar from Sydney to Townsville. Jetstar are not renowned for being the best airline, but if you can get a cheap flight, and usually morning flights are better, there's less delays than evening flights. So I booked a really early morning flight, everything went smoothly. I landed and then I had pre-booked a transfer from the airport to the ferry terminal, which is about 10-minute drive. It cost $10. They were waiting for me. Everyone's so friendly. I mean, I landed and there's people in bare feet. Gotta love Queensland. Big old men in beer guts, with the 4X beer t-shirts, big beards, friendly as anything. So got to the ferry wharf, and then it was a beautiful ferry trip over to the island. It's about 20 minutes. And they were called Sea Link, the ferry service. And that was $11 concession or $22 full price. So everybody had their QR, their thing already to scan. So it helps to book that stuff in advance. There's also a car ferry, which is a different brand that goes across, but I think it would be quite expensive to take your car, but it can be done. And then you can also camp over there. There's a beautiful place called Bounce. I think it was called Bounce, or formerly called Bounce, up in the north at Horseshoe Bay. And there's koalas in the trees there, and they have breakfast with koalas and all sorts of cool stuff. So yeah, it's a definite possibility if you want to camp. But I had booked 2 different places on booking.com, and they were just little shacks out the back of people's houses, and they were perfectly fine. The first one was up in the north, Horseshoe Bay, which was meant to be the more sort of beautiful beach where you could stay. It's a little bit more remote than Nellie Bay, the main place where you come in. And there's also, you can go upper class if you want. Like there's a Peppers 5-star resort there at Nellie Bay where you come in. And one tip would be the IGA, which is the supermarket, the one there at Nellie Bay where you first come in. It's really well stocked, and they've also got lots of homemade food there. Like they had a beautiful warm section with bacon and egg rolls, all sorts of salads, pre-cooked dinners like vegetarian lasagnas, butter chicken, blah, blah, blah. So that would be a good place to stock up if you have a self-catering type situation. Otherwise, I hear there's all right restaurants. I don't think they're great, but I didn't eat at any, so I can't really say. So don't take my advice on the restaurants. But yeah, I came into Nellie Bay, and then I walked to the bike hire place, which was called Magnetic Island Roaming. And so I pre-booked a bike. It was $55 for an e-bike per day. So I had it for 2 days. The guy, Tim, shout out to Tim, kindly let me have it for 2 nights rather than 1. And he said, as long as I fully charged it, brought it back charged, that was fine. And he also let me leave my little suitcase there. So I just had a little insert in my suitcase, and I popped that in the back, put my backpack in the front. So it was like a courier bike, and it had more than enough room, a couple of Oki straps, put my stuff on it, and then just started cycling around the island, which was so cool. And you can also get a fully pedal-powered, not a pedal assist bike, so a fully electric bike as well, which is like an extra $10 or something. It wasn't much. But yeah, I like the pedal-powered one. And then the one thing I was worried about was there was this sort of really sketchy part of road with no shoulder. It was steep. It was about a 3-kilometre part, but that was totally fine. You need to go through that part to get to the north of the island. So you go from Nellie Bay through past Jeffrey Bay, up through Arcadia, up to Horseshoe Bay. And in all, if you just cycle in a row straight through It would take about 20, 30 minutes up over the hill. Of course, I stopped. But yeah, that sketchy part of road, it was fine. I did it probably about 8 times in total, and each time cars only passed me, or trucks, once or twice, and they were very polite. They'd go all the way on the other side of the road, and then as soon as I could, I'd pull in and you know, they'd wave. So it was very cool. And yeah, nothing to be afraid of. And on that first walk, yeah, I left my stuff in my little house up at Horseshoe Bay, and then I went back to the fort lookout, and I did the fort walk, where you're pretty much not guaranteed to see koalas, but you'll probably see koalas. And it was a bigger walk than I thought. It was about 3 hours. Luckily, I had just enough water, but I wasn't quite ready for it. I was exhausted after flying it, you know, getting up at 3 a.m. But right at the end, at the fort, I saw 2 koalas in the trees, which made me so happy, because I have actually never seen a koala in the wild in Australia, even though when I was a little kid here in Sydney that they were in the trees. So it kind of makes me sad that they're gone, but really good to see. And I learned something really interesting about the koalas. They were actually introduced because it's a safe place. There's not many cats. It's 75% national park, not many cars. So they took, I think it was 20 breeding pairs of koalas that were chlamydia free. And now they've got about 800. So it's a really healthy population. I also saw a little echidna. And then, the birds, oh my gosh. In the morning when I woke up, there were pinkalas, black cockatoos with a red tail. Oh, just the curlew, the song of the curlew, so incredible. So that was really cool. And then the second day, I just spent the whole day cycling around. I went down to the south to Picnic Bay, where there's a big jetty. That's really nice. And then on the third day, I did a snorkeling tour. And that was good, just to get out where the fish are and a little bit of reef. You could go there yourself. It's off Jeffrey Bay. And at Jeffrey Bay, just in the north part, there's a whole lot of rock wallabies. So you can go there, look at the rock wallabies, and then if you're brave, just jump off the rocks, and it's like a little snorkeling area. But we went early in the morning and there was no one else out there, and I don't know if I'd be brave enough to do that by myself. But it was $160, which is quite steep. I would recommend it if you haven't snorkeled before, because they have 2 people there assisting you. They've got a big blow-up pontoon. They've got paddle boards. And we had a little picnic lunch, and that was really nice. But as you know, we saw big batfish, and we also saw black-tip reef sharks, but it wasn't the amazing barrier reef. You know, it was quite silty, and the vision wasn't great. I used to work out on the barrier reef from Hamilton Island in the Whitsundays, and so we'd go out to the proper reef, and that was incredible. And also I've done dives off kind of Lizard Island in the north, where they've got a place called the Cod Hole, and that is just mind-blowing. And this was nothing like that. So just a little tip, like if you're going to Australia to see the barrier reef, I wouldn't expect too much off Magnetic Island, but it was still lovely just to snorkel and see some tropical fish. Yeah, and that was really cool. And I think that's about all you really need to know. So Magnetic Island, it's shortened to Maggie, and it's just such a beautiful getaway. There's lots of scientists there studying nature. There's also lots of hippies. I saw a woman in a sparkly cowboy hat cycling up to the ferry terminal when I first arrived. You've got all the kind of redneck Aussies, I guess you could say, drinking beer in the pubs, and then alternative lifestyle people. So yeah, a real mix. And even just cycling around the streets, you know, there was a place called Wallaby Way right behind where we were staying, and there were actual wallabies jumping down the street. So that was pretty awesome. A really beautiful kind of getaway, and a nice place to go when you want to escape, like this place. I mean, it's nice to have a bit of contrast, but hey, you don't really need a hoodie up there because it's pretty warm. but take one anyway. It was cold after snorkeling. It was kind of fresh in the mornings. It's September, so beginning of spring. If I went, it would be, the ideal time would probably be the Australian winter, June, July, August, also September, October, November. It'd be hard coming into our summer because you get the stingers, the irukandji in the ocean, and you get cyclone season. So yeah, summer would not be great. But there you go. I hope this has been helpful. Oh, hey, one last thing I forgot to mention was the amazing walks that you can do. As I mentioned, I did the Fort Walk, and I did a second walk from in the north from Horseshoe Bay. I walked around to Balding Bay, and then there's also Radical Bay, which is the most amazing beach. But I actually didn't walk all the way to Radical Bay because it was in the middle of the day. It was getting very hot. I ended up snorkeling off there the next day. But I walked down to Balding Bay, and there was a lot of stairs up, a lot of stairs down. It probably took about, I don't know, an hour and a half. And I met this German girl just as she was leaving, and she said, "There's a naked guy down there, please be careful." And sure enough, there's this huge naked guy just sitting back. Turns out it was a nudist beach. But there was 3 Argentinian girls, so we all kind of went swimming in a close, we sort of stuck together just in case, but it was totally fine. But because I was somewhere new, I didn't really know, like, are there stingers? The water wasn't clear, so I didn't stay in super long. And it was a massive trek back again. You've got to be prepared for the sun. I had a sarong over my head. I had a full long sleeve shirt on, and this other traveller guy said to me, "Are you going through the snow?" And I said, "Oh, it probably looks like that, but hey, it's Australia. You've got to be covered up. You've got to have your hat, your sunnies, your long sleeve shirt, your sun cream. It's the sun's pretty crazy." So yeah, amazing bushwalking, but I would go early or late in the evening. You can go in the middle of the day, as I did, but you'll be hot. And if you go for a swim, you'll be really, really hot by the time you get back. But at least I got back to Horseshoe Bay, where there was an enclosed area to swim with stinger nets, lifeguards, everything. So that was cool as well.